creativity for your talk. So it's very important, especially if you have unique images to address your story, or some diagrams, some charts that can bring out the data that backs up your ideas, or even a visualization of your tech, of your idea, of your project. It can be a very important part of your talk. Yeah, I think this is the wrong slide. Let me just change this up a bit. Okay, much better, yeah. It's better, right? So, the idea here is that I want to address how you can do a very bad presentation and how you can fix it. So, bear in mind that you don't have to be a professional in PowerPoint. We're here also to help you with this. But I'll just give you some tips on how to prepare a presentation. Everything okay? Okay. Okay. So, just to start, we'll go one by one, seeing the errors of the previous slide, and we'll address them, okay? Oh my. So what went wrong here? There are many things, so we'll go one by one. So there's this thing. Well, first of all, too many details, right? Even the day is a bit wrong, so that's also wrong. Yes, it's a bit of ugly, to be honest. There's this awful old bullet points, probably older than me right now. And yeah, it's a bit too much for this slide, right? But well, where do we start? Of course, first of all, it's really important that you're aware that each slide that you have in your presentation only has one message. This is important because of what? Well, what happens if you have multiple ideas in your slide? Think of you as an audience member right now. If I had multiple messages here, you could do several things. Well, to start off, you can be very bored and just doze off and not listen to me nor read what's going on the screen. Or you'll pay attention to the screen, try to figure out what's going on, and meanwhile, you lost what I was saying. So please, try to have just one message per slide. Next up, of course, if you're going to have just one message per slide, also try to keep it just to the keywords, the key phrases, the key content that you want to share. There's no need to just keep on sharing useless things or putting just reminders, text reminders of what you want to say in the talk. You can do that in the speaker notes. And of course, all the rest is spoken, of course. You're there to speak, right? Not to just read out loud what's going on the screen. But if you really need to have reminders of what you want to say in this part of the talk, for instance, you can use the speaker notes that are available in Google Slides, PowerPoint, every software there is, to just put on the notes of what you want to say, just so you remember what you're going to say in this part. And just to tell you, of course, we will have on the stage at the day of the event 2 monitors. One will have the time that you have to do the talk, and another one will be showing the notes that you put on in each slide, so just that you can remember what you want to say. Then, of course, like I said, I recommend that you only do one message per slide. But if you do insist on using bullet points, please go one by one. Because again, what will happen if I come here, for instance, talking about the benefits of reusable space rockets, and I put in 15 bullet points of advantages of space rockets, what will you do? You probably will go and read the 15 bullet points. What happens is, and this is proven, that we read about 3 times faster than how we speak. So, what will happen is that you are on the 15th bullet point, you already read everything, and I'm on the first. So, you will probably be very bored that I'm talking again about the thing you already read. So what's the point of showing everything like this? There's no point of doing that. So try not to do bullet points, and if you do, don't overdo them, please. And yeah, no underlined slides. Okay, this may seem like a small detail, and I do know that I have a bit of OCD, I'm sorry, but it's very important that you don't have simple mistakes in the design of your slides. Because if we see, for instance, that you have a text over here and a text over there and a random image in the corner, Well, it will seem like you didn't put much effort. It seems like you really don't care about the message, you don't believe in what you're sharing, so why should I, right? So please be aware of this. Another thing, pay attention to the spacing between the lines of the text. There's a lot of people, whoa, what's happening? Okay, let me just go. This was what I was saying about the mistakes, right? Okay, so mind the spacing in the text. Because of course, there will be around 1,500 people in that auditorium over there watching your talk. Not every one of them can see clearly everything that's going on the screen, so please try to keep it with a decent spacing, okay? Okay, what's next that went wrong? A lot of things, right? But we'll start with, oh well, basically everything. Because we can see here, for instance, that when I look at this, I can see, for instance, the title. The title of the slide is kind of salient, but otherwise, the remaining text is all looking at the same way. It's all uniform. So, where should I look at first? Where's the ending? What's the most important part of the slide? I have no idea. The other thing is that the colors are just off. I know this is a bit of an opinion, but this, perhaps in the 90s it was good to have a blue and yellow coloring scheme, but this is just a bit, yeah. There's even some studies that show that blue light can be a bit bad for you, so yeah, if you want a more scientific opinion, don't go with this. So yeah, it's very important to use color in a sparsely way, so just use a bit of color when you want to really emphasize something, some important part of your slide, and contrast, because contrast really helps you, again, make the audience focus on what you want them to focus first. For instance, I'm pretty sure that when I show you this slide, you first saw the words color and contrast, because they have highlighted around their environment, because the environment is just black and white, and then you suddenly see these colors and these words that are in bold, that are bigger, so they get emphasized, and you see it first. And at last, you saw the word and, because it's grayed out. It's a bit more normal, more similar to the background. So you see how you can play with the attention of the audience. This is a really interesting quote from Tom Riley, from TED, and I like to emphasize this. You must design where attention is going. And look, you also saw that first segment of the phrase first, because the rest is grayed out, right? So, the idea here is that in the same way that you prepare your script, your text of the talk, in a specific order, right? You want the slides to be designed in a specific order as well. So, yeah, I could have put the text here all by itself, all white, all uniform, and you would start to read everything like it was all equally important. But I'm telling you, with this design, that you must first focus on the words design attention and the first part of the phrase, because that's what the main idea that I want to share with you is. Then, again, this is a bit subjective, but you'll see. I really appreciate the darker tones, dark colors, dark background. Why? If you see, it seems a bit calm, relaxing. It even seems like almost the screen is all shut down and only the words are being projected. It's calm, you just focus on the words, right? This is very good because it doesn't flash in your eyes, the screen. You can just read out the words and then focus again on the speaker. With white backgrounds, it's a bit of a different topic, right? Don't believe me? Boom! It's like a bomb of attention. Suddenly I'm not important, the important thing is that. And it's not even saying anything special, it's just look at me. So yeah, you see what I mean. Okay. Then, as I was saying, shades are also particularly interesting to design the focus of the audience. For instance, I really like this example that when you go do a Google search, for instance, when you click on a link that Google returned, Google understands that you already seen that article. So when you go search again for the same subject, the links that you already opened, what you already read, is in a different shade, so that you understand this is less important. I must focus on what I haven't already read. So this is a very nice trick that you can also do with a presentation to design the attention. Okay, so what next in this catastrophe of errors? Okay, so we have this text. First of all, too much text, that's obvious. Then, of course, there's not enough spacing like we were talking about. And then, at last, it really is very small in the terms of text size. So again, people in the audience, perhaps the first line, the first row of people will be able to read this, all the others, no. So really, if you want something to be read by the public, really make it big. I'm exaggerating a bit here, I know. But really make it big if you want people to see it. Otherwise, don't just fill up with unimportant things. Next up, we have these personal signatures, let's call it like that. Of course, in a TEDx talk, you might feel tempted to show off a bit your work and also give some context of yours. But it's really important to still have in mind that a TEDx talk, like Francesco was saying, it's important to give, not take. You're here to make a TEDx talk, not a TEDx pitch. You can share, of course, your projects and your ideas, but please focus on sharing a message worth spreading, not your next sale, okay? Then, okay, that's my OCD striking again. Perfection is impossible, but be aware of your mistakes. Like this mistake, for instance. Okay. Alright. Okay. Yeah, so that was a mistake, for instance. Although it was external to me, I didn't influence it, but well, it was a mistake. The thing is that mistakes, again, emphasize that you didn't make enough of an effort in preparing your speech, and it kind of gives a sense that you don't believe in your idea. So, yeah, don't do it. Then, of course, we have images. I really believe, like the popular saying goes, an image is worth 1,000 words. I think images can really help you, better than text, to really understand what's going on, to give visual context of what you're saying. But you must be aware that they must be of high definition. You can't just throw a bunch of pixels in there and hope people can see it. And you must be aware that since this is all going online, your TED Talks, unless you do something obscene on stage, is going to be online. So if you have trouble, for instance, with an image that's not yours and that's copyrighted, well, TED might be a bit angry with you, okay? So you must be aware of trying to use pictures that are yours, or that you use from a website like Unsplash, where you have free HD images that are free to use, no copyright issues. You just have to post the image and then tell who was the photographer, give credit, okay? I'll just show you two examples. For instance, this pretty image, I put it there, that's by Harry Cunningham, I think that's it, yeah. Another one, yeah, you can see it later. And yeah, why are images so good? Because, first of all, they can help you visualize the idea. One thing is for me to say, oh yeah, at SpaceX we do this reusable rocket that's really cool. I don't work at SpaceX, by the way. But at SpaceX we do this space rocket that's really cool and all that. But images can really help you visualize what I'm saying and understand the idea by that. So you just have to make sure they're clear for everyone, because it's not a scientific conference, it's a TEDx event with a lot of different people. And they must be then intuitive. So for instance, don't be scared. So this is something related to my master thesis, and I could show you this and know, oh yeah, artificial intelligence, you have this model that the input signal goes through that, and then you have this multiplication and sum, and then tangent, and yeah. This is a bit of a monstrosity right here, again, because people won't have enough knowledge to absorb this, and this will be too much content again for you to understand it. And an alternative solution would be to have a much simpler, for instance, this kind of animation, where, okay, it's a lot simplified and abstract, but in this sense we can get a much clearer view of what that previous concept was doing. In this case, it's an artificial trying to understand what's the meaning of that phrase. And I'd like to emphasize that I really like animations. Why? Because it's the order thing again. Instead of a still image that's just always the same, you can have an animation that shows you really the progress and the timeline of things. So for instance, this is going first to the word what, then time, then is. You understand? You can get a much better visualization through animations. Then, data can really back up your arguments. Because I can stand here and tell my opinion on subject A or B, and you might believe it or not, you might respect it or not, but if I say I have this opinion, and then I also have this data to back up my argument, I have all these studies that show that I might be on to something, right? You will have at least some more consideration into what I'm saying. So really try to use data as long as it's from a credible source, okay? So for instance, you won't just take any newspaper that exists and believe it. You won't believe everything that appears online. Of course, I don't think lobsters get off on pain. That would be weird. And you must be aware that correlation doesn't mean causation. What I mean by this is that there can be sometimes when it happens a coincidence, doesn't mean that they are related. So for instance, I don't think that the US spending on science influences the suicides by hanging, but that's my opinion. Yeah. So these are examples of good uses of data. So for instance, what we have here, we have the title, we have a data in an intuitive visualization. I think everyone here understands what's going on here. And then we have the data source, and it's even from a credible source, because it's from Northwestern University. So again, we have other examples here that you can look later on. We have a title, data, source. Title, data, source. Okay? That's the scheme. And it must be clear, of course. Then, images can be fun. Of course, like Francesco was saying, sometimes it's important to introduce a bit of humor in your talk, especially if it's a hard topic, a topic that may be a bit more dramatic. Because with humor you can lighten up the mood a bit and recapture the attention of the audience. So for instance, I hope that by now all of you are thinking like this. Now I'm starting to understand how to do a TEDx talk. This can be a bit funny, and I see some smiles over there. Some people might be thinking, oh, stupid joke, but well, I really enjoy doing this kind of images. But of course, like everything that I've been talking about, don't overdo them, okay? Don't overdo them. Yeah, alright. Then the title, I guess the only solution here is don't use word art, okay? It's just the only thing.
Why not?
The only thing. We are not over yet. I just want to introduce you the concept of blank slides. So for instance, you might have noticed that sometimes in Francesco's talk, he didn't have any slide. This is important because there might be times in your talk where you want people to take a break from the visuals. You want people to just focus on what you're saying right now. Perhaps in a personal story, perhaps in an important argument that you're about to make and that can't be visualized well. So really try to use the power of blank slides. And another thing is that I'm going on with this talk about visuals and doing good slides, but the truth is, around a third of the most viewed TED Talks don't have slides at all, nor visual aids, nor anything, just the speaker talking. But it must be, you must really be confident on your skills of public speaking. You must really be a person that's super captivating, so that you can really have the audience's attention for 18 minutes without stopping. And it might really be just for specific cases, because I really believe that in most contexts, in most topics, you can really benefit from a visualization of what you're saying, from reinforcing a word or a concept by showing it on the screen. So please think about this through, okay? And of course, I'm giving my perspective on how you can do a good visuals construction for the talk. But this is just my perspective, and of course, Francesco shares his perspective, and Rita shared her perspective. It doesn't mean there's a perfect formula, it doesn't mean you have to copy us. This is just for inspiration. You do your own thing, because, of course, if we start to do TED Talks all the same, it will start to be boring, because we've already seen it all the time, okay? So just try to get inspired, but keep your own style. And then, of course, like I said, you can have their own style, and we'll share with you the slides of this presentation. I don't want to take much time away from you. It's just that you can then see some talks here that have creative approaches to the talk, that do something different, like interacting with the public, doing demonstrations, having music in the talk, or other creative examples like comedy, magic even, and a lot of exercises that you can do. So I'll just share with you these slides with all the links to the talks, and you can see them later, okay? I won't waste your time anymore. Just for a small recap of everything that I've been saying, that I know it's a lot. So only use, of course, your slides for important content. No need to fill in with irrelevant information. The slides are just a support for you. They are not the main part of the talk. You, the speaker, are the main part of the talk. You and your speech, okay? Then guide the audience's attention. They can't just be thrown in with a bunch of information all at once. You really must tell them where to focus first. You must really guide them where you're going in the current stage of the talk and where they should look at. Then images and data are better than text. This is my opinion a bit, but yeah, try to use images and data to validate your opinions. And do your own thing. Be original, be creative. Don't just follow a specific formula, because there is no golden rule, okay? Yeah, that's basically it. You can then watch the references and all the links that I have here. And yeah, we'll send it to you later. Thank you.